Monastic martyr Ioasaf, Ivan Vasilievich Boev, was born on the 20th of April in 1879 in Moscow. According to his own story, he was the son of a peasant of the Ural province of the Mal-Yaroslavets county of the village Krasnoye. Due to poverty, the father could not provide the son with an education, and the boy hardly finished 2 classes of school and was sent to study shoemanship. Later, Ivan Vasilievich became a master and worked up to 21 years of age for different people. But he didn't comprehend this life in view of excessive drinking and lechery, and as he didn't have a calling to marriage, he retired to the monastery called Berlikovskaya Hermitage. In 1912, Ivan Vasilievich took monastic vows with the name Ioasaf, and in 1914 he was transferred to the Savinsky Metochion, where he served until 1918, and later he moved to Nikolsky Monastery in Moscow. In 1921, Ioasaf was ordained a hero monk, being mobilized for the Rio militia the same year, but was excused from military service for a work in the Moscow Agrarian Department as a beekeeper. In the end of 1923, the bee garden was eliminated, and the priest returned to the monastery. In July 1924, Father Ioasaf was invited to the village of Aratskaya as a priest, and in March 1926 to the village of Simsky factory. During this time, Father Ioasaf was arrested once and was called for the interrogation several times. In June 1927, Archimandrite Ioasaf was arrested by the OGPU and was condemned by doing a contre-revolution. On the 5th of December in 1927, the OGPU sentenced Archimandrite Ioasaf to 3 years in exile. He was deported to the Tobolsk region. Upon termination of the exile in 1930, Archimandrite Ioasaf arrived to Ufa and began to serve at the Church of Simeon of Verkhaturia. In November 1931, the OGPU found out that at the church there were conversations with the believing youth, and broad charity was led. After the investigation, priest Ioasaf was charged for heading the counter-revolutionary organization, and on the 13th of April in 1932, the OGPU sentenced Archimandrite Ioasaf to 3 years of imprisonment, which he spent in Krasnovysheria labor camps. Upon his return, Father Ioasaf served at the church on Taganka in Moscow, and then in April 1937 moved to Nikolskaya village of the Zvizhnegrad district and served at St. Nicholas Church. On the 27th of November in 1937, Archimandrite Ioasaf was arrested on the charge of counter-revolutionary activity and imprisoned in Taganskaya prison in Moscow. On the interrogations, Father Ioasaf flatly refused to plead guilty. On the 5th of December in 1937, the NKVD Troika sentenced him to firing squad. Archimandrite Ioasaf Boev was executed on the 10th of December in 1937 and was entombed in the unknown Popa's grave on the Buto Range area near Moscow. In 2000, Archimandrite Ioasaf Boev was canonized by the decree of the Holy Synod as a new martyr and confessor of Russia.
The history of the past century clearly shows us where people who denied God are able to go. It was a special time for the Christian Church, not only in Russia, but all over the world. But evil is powerless against firm proving of verity and can be defeated only by love. Those who suffer for the Christian beliefs suffer not for their own mistakes and sins, but take part in the passions of our God, Jesus Christ, suffering together with Christ. The martyrs showed us the new level of God's love in people's hearts, the victory of God before whom the evil is powerless.